Hi, it's Mitch from the Dingers Podcast, and we welcome you to episode 76. I'm here with Jeff and Jake, and we have a special guest tonight, Ron Luce from Cubs on Tap. How are you, Ron?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm excited to talk some Cubs baseball with the Dingers crew finally.
Yeah, welcome. Jake, how are you doing? We see that you don't have your mustache anymore. It's kind of like a little goatee-ish. What's going on over there?
This is, well, first of all, welcome, Ron. Very excited to have you on. I've been listening to Cubs on Tap for a long time, so it's good to have you on the pod with us. Obviously, I tweeted out the fantasy league. Ron is in the fantasy league.
Not doing great either,
but that's okay. Hey, you got time. This is just, I never clean shave. I just have the lowest guard on the Clippers, and just got to clean it up. I told Ron, he asked what was going on. I told him that it'll come back out this summer, but for now I had to retire it.
Yeah. And Jeffrey, you got the glasses on tonight.
I don't want to fight with putting in a contact, so I just put on some glasses. I tell you what, I'm really getting
so studious.
Cold, windy, spring weather. Seriously, I'm about ready to take a bath with a toaster.
A little aggressive.
I've had it.
Well, remember, our podcast is proudly sponsored by ShyCitySports.com Podcasting Network. Remember, you can find us anywhere where you find your podcast, free and available everywhere. You also check out our YouTube channel at Shy City Sports YouTube channel, where you can check out all the Shy City Sports content, as well as extra Dinger content. And join the conversation. Follow us on Twitter at Dinger Cubs. We love interacting with you, Cubs fans and listeners. So join the conversation on there. But we're going to start tonight with our Cracker Beer Player of the Week. I don't know if you have a beer on you, but I have a witch's broom, which we call Kevin's wife's transportation. Is that what we call it?
Yep.
Other host of the Dingers podcast.
It's Kevin's wife's car.
Yep. Toppling Goliath beer. Go get yourself some Toppling Goliath, or go to TG Brews. They have a beer finder where you can find yourself your own Toppling Goliath beer. But let's start with you, Ron. Who is your Cracker Beer Player of the Week for you?
This is always a tough one. I feel like with Pittsburgh coming to the town too, you got to keep that in mind, right? It's not just this Rays series. You know what? I feel like the easy answer would be to go Seiya, but I'm not going to go Seiya here. I'm actually looking forward to seeing a little Nick Madrigal. He had 3 hits on Sunday. He's already got 2 tonight against the Rays. So
yeah,
it looks like that bat's starting to come around for Nicky 2 strikes, and maybe he starts to put something together. So he is my Cracker pick of the week. It is Mr. Nick Madrigal, number 1, the little man running around.
I like it. Jeffrey, who do you have for your Cracker Beer Player of the Week?
I'm going with our backstop, Willie, for getting me on the Dinger board.
There you go. I'm still on the Schneid, still haven't got on the Dinger board, so that's a great pick. Jake, who you got for your Player of the Week?
Like Ron said, I'd love to pick Seiya, but that's the easy answer. I'm going to pick Nico. I like what Nico's done offensively. He's hitting the ball hard. His average exit velo is 91, which is pretty solid. Still hitting it on the ground, but Greg Brown was quoted in The Athletic talking about how they're trying to, tweak the line drive approach for most of the hitters. But the big thing for me, his defense, man. He is proving all the doubters wrong. His arm has looked great. His range has looked great. I mean, I am so stoked for Nico's season at shortstop this year.
Yeah, he's been playing lights out. I am going to go with Justin Steele. We have had 2 great outings from Steele, and I think we're going to get a third this week. I just love what he's doing on the mound. You can tell that he has a different presence of himself on the mound this year. He's confident in his ability. You can tell he worked his butt off this offseason. I just love what I've seen out of Steele so far, and I think we're going to continue to see that ball rolling with Steele as the season goes on. So he's my Dinger pick of the week. But let's talk about that Colorado series. We just got done with a split in Colorado. which I will say the last 3 games, we had 13 hits apiece in each one of those games. Our offense was rolling. Jake, let's start with you. Let's talk to me a little bit about the Colorado series. I think you kind of want to like temper my spirits a little bit and kind of get me under control, because I'm pretty excited about the Cubs offense.
So I'm glad that you had me go first, and then we can talk about all the highlights, because I think I've been a little surprised at how quickly people have been judging the Cubs offense on Twitter specifically, without the caveat of, half of the season has been played at Coors. I mean, basically, like, right? We've played 10 games.
Tonight's number 10.
Yeah, tonight's number 10. So basically like half the season has been played at Coors. And not only is it the most hitter-friendly ballpark in the league, everybody listening has probably heard that countless times, but we also know that breaking balls don't break as much. So that could be the reason. I was trying to find the pitch data and I couldn't find it, but that could be the reason why someone like Patrick Wisdom was able to break out in that series and lace a bunch of doubles. I'm not saying that this team isn't a good contact-oriented team. I think they are. But I just want to make sure that we're not saying like, okay, this team's on the map. Like, we're going to hit the ball. We're going to hit for high average. People are going to get on base. I think that's fair to expect, but definitely not at the clip that was happening. And obviously it's being proven. Not a great hitter's environment tonight at Wrigley. And Shane McClanahan's dealing against them on the mound, which Cubs fans, you should expect. That guy's a stud. So I don't know. I think it was fun as hell to watch. I mean, edge of my seat, all 4 games. But I would say if we could get like 75% of that production the rest of the season, Cubs fans should be ecstatic.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that like every single inning yesterday they had runners on, and that's kind of been the story. I will say, even outside of Colorado, is we've been getting guys on the base paths all the time, and that's something that, as a Cubs fan, the last couple of years we haven't seen that. So it's great that they're doing that in their manufacturing runs. That's the type of thing that we want to see, and so
yes,
hopefully the time will tell this week, next week, what this offense is going to look like in the future, and hopefully we can kind of see them. We'll see who they really are here in the next couple of weeks. What is somebody that stuck out to you, Ron, this last week in Colorado that really maybe kind of excited you and got you kind of excited for this Cubs offense?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think just the continuing Seiya that is Seiya Suzuki. I mean, that plate discipline alone is enough to get you excited, right? Like a true baseball fan will sit back and watch him just take pitches, and you sit there and it's so impressive. I mean, a guy that's never played in America, and sure, of course, baseball's the same game, wherever you play it, but the talent level here is just better, right? The major leagues are significantly better, and he's still taking pitches. He's still taking what the pitchers give him. I mean, how many times we've seen him go opposite field already on 2 of his home runs? Like, he's just taking what he's being given. And I think that's super exciting too. But Jake, to kind of build off what you had to say, though, obviously, I agree. It was Coors, for these last 4 games, but it kind of plays too to what Mitch said, right? They constantly had men on base. I mean, I think back to these Cubs teams of years past with Rizzo and Bryant and Baez, and they weren't putting runners on every single inning. They were striking out half the time because it's just how that team was built. So at least it's encouraging just to see them get guys on base. Again, you can't score runs unless guys are on base. It makes the home run ball that much more important when it does happen, because maybe instead of just that solo shot, it's a 2 or a 3 run bomb like we saw tonight with Wisdom. So I think that it makes such a big difference going forward for this Cubs offense, that as long as they get guys on base, good things are going to happen.
And if I can say something really quick too, one of the takeaways that I got, and then Jeff, I want to hear what you have to say, but I just want to make sure I plug this, because I was thinking about this a lot after the series. It's still early, and I know that he fits the prototypical like role. I think I really want Madrigal batting leadoff every day that he's in the lineup, because so he's going to hit the ball on the ground. Yep. And he grounded into one of the double plays yesterday. And I'm double check. I'm like thinking to myself. I'm pretty sure he did. I think he grounded in the first one.
Yep.
And then somebody pointed out on Twitter, Nick Madrigal's great with the bases empty because he went on and hit like three more hits, I think, yesterday after that grounder into a double play with nobody on. So it's like, hey, maybe this guy is just a better hitter with nobody on base. Let him be up there. He does take, a decent amount of pitches. Not as many as you really like out of the standard leadoff guy, but he's gonna get on base one way or another. And he's fast. I don't know how many steals to expect from him, but I think we can expect him to steal as he starts warming up a little bit more.
Yeah, Jeff, what did you see out of Seiya that you really liked?
The plate discipline and his confidence in the batter's box. Like when I got the news feed that they had signed him, I'm like, who? So then you Google him and you see all these highlights of tape measure home runs in Japan, and you never know how that's going to translate over here with, like Ron said, the talent level is just a little bit, better than what it is in Japan. But I've been really impressed so far with the plate discipline and just how confident he looks in the box, and just the hot start that he got off to. It's pretty crazy. Also, I agree with Jake with half the games being in Coors. I figured when they went there last Thursday to open the series, I'm like, everybody's going to get a hit or hit a bunch, and then everybody's going to just explode on Twitter like the offense is fixed. This team's going to win 100 games. I'm like, this is played on a large corner lot in town. Everybody's hitting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, right now, so far this season, Seiya's batting .417, 4 dingers, 11 RBIs. He's taken 40 swings. This is as of before today's game. 40 swings so far, and in those swings, he has 4 home runs, 2 doubles, and 4 singles. The best ratio in all of baseball. And I don't know if you saw this. The Zips projections came out, and they projected Wisdom to have 27 home runs, Seiya to have 24, Happ to have 23, Schwindel to have 21, and Contreras to have 19. You put that together, like you talk about like this Cubs lineup not having any pop. That's a pretty good set out of your top 5 that they're projecting for dingers. That's a lot of offense right there. That's more than what we had out of Bryant and Rizzo and Baez last year. So like looking at that, like take our contact bats with Nick Madrigal, with VR, with Horner, and throw in those guys. And if they actually land that and hit that, we have a lot of offense, a lot of things to look forward to.
Yeah, and I think it's safe to take the over on most of those guys too. So just to run it back again, Seiya 24.
Yep.
I think that's fair to expect. Like, yes, there are gonna be ups and downs for him this season. But the way that he started, I mean, the plate discipline is the biggest thing, as we've already hammered on, and I know that all Cubs fans have. But if he can maintain that approach and still barrel the ball at the rate that he's been barreling the ball against, it's been talked about. He was up against Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta for his first 3 Major League Baseball games. 3 of the best pitchers in baseball. If you can keep barreling, I would probably take the over on 24. I would also take the over on Happ with 23 if he can stay healthy. Schwindel 21 feels about right because he is more of a contact-oriented bat. And if Contreras stays healthy and plays DH, he's definitely hitting over 19 home runs.
Yep. Ron, 27 dingers out of Wisdom.
Say it's just a little pace.
Where, after the first week, were you one of those on Twitter that had given up on Wisdom?
Yes, 100%. So in fairness, I had my doubts for Wisdom coming into the season. And I think a lot of that just is because of the amount of strikeouts, right? When teams get tape on you and know that you like to swing, they know how to attack a player. And that, again, just quickly plugging it, that's why Seiya is so impressive, because he doesn't just hack at anything, right? And I think Wisdom will actually benefit, though, more from this high contact Cubs lineup around him, because it allows him to be a little more aggressive. It allows him to take those big hack swings where he maybe isn't taking the big hat swing to try and, I got to win us the game here, or I got to put the Cubs in front. It's, hey, I'm just taking what they give me. And if they give me one to square up, I'm going to square it up. Hell, look at the home run he hit tonight.
Yep.
That wind, they said the wind was blowing in, shaving like 25 feet off of fly balls, and he still put that thing almost through the tunnel in the bleachers.
Yep.
I mean, that is incredibly impressive. So, I mean, that's absolutely a guy I think that can give you 27 to 30, and I think Seiya can be right in that conversation too. I think too, what a lot of people forget, like Hap finished last season, I think, with 24 bombs.
Yeah.
I mean, he got really hot late in the season, and that obviously helped. But I mean, like you put it perfectly, right? Where if you have this balanced offense in terms of power production, like Jake, you said, you add that on though to they're getting on base more. Yeah, maybe you don't have the 30 home run guy or multiple 30 home run guys, but you probably are going to have multiple guys over 85 RBIs, because when they are hitting those home runs, they're 2 and 3 run shots, not solo shots because nobody's on base because the 2 guys in front of you struck out. So I really think it's okay to have a bunch of guys hitting in the mid to high 20s in home runs, but there's going to be probably 2 or 3 of those guys potentially that are flirting with 100 RBIs if you said if the Cubs can do 3/4 of what they did at Coors over the course of an 162 game season.
Yeah. I mean, when you start the season like Wisdom did, going 1 for 21, you're gonna hear some things on Twitter. You're gonna hear fans grumbling a little bit, especially when you already are thinking in the back of your mind, like last year might have been a fluke. It took so long for this guy to get into the majors, and now he's right back to where he was. But I mean, what he needed more than anything was to go out to Coors Field and have wide open spaces in the outfield to be able to knock some doubles around. And boy, did he hit a lot of doubles. He last year he had 13 doubles and 375 plate appearances. He already has 5 doubles this year. So he's on track. He started out
Field again.
Yeah, he should ask for a trade to Coors Field and play every day there.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, man, we should be talking with the Rockies.
Who do they got? But if you look at his WRC plus, like it was like in the tank, like super negative. And in 4 games, it moved to plus 96. And that now he's 4% below league average, which is great. Like it's just crazy. Like what one weekend in Colorado will do to your offensive production. And so that's where Jake, where you said like, hey, we need to it was great, but we need to kind of come back down because we're going to find an average of all this here in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, maybe not this week when we play the Pirates, but after that, when we go to Atlanta, we're going to have to, it's going to change a little bit. We're going to see who we really are. And that's what the fun thing is about this team. We're going to kind of ride these waves and get to find out who these guys are. And I mean, I've loved watching every minute of these games because you're falling in love with these players. Like I love watching Nick Madrigal play. I love seeing him just get base knocks like crazy.
I mean, and he's another guy too where like, what'd you say, Jeff?
I said the games are a little more exciting to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, guys, I saw a tweet that said that he's the modern day Mark Grace, that Nick Madrigal, because that's all Mark Grace did was just slap balls around and get base hits and doubles. And it's like, yeah, kind of. He's like a smaller version of Mark Grace. Like he has the hit tool kind of like Mark Grace did. And so like I love just what I'm seeing out of this team. But we've talked about Wisdom. We've talked about Seiya. I want to talk a little bit about kind of the guys that surround these power bats that we kind of talked about a little bit earlier that we want to hit a lot of home runs. But we have Nick Madrigal, we have Nico Horner, and we have Jonathan Villar. I'm excited to see what these guys will do playing in the middle of our infield, but also what they've done on the offensive end of putting the ball in play. We saw Jonathan Villar have a great offensive weekend, kind of started it in Pittsburgh and then carried it over with a couple games in Colorado. Jake, what do you kind of see out of Villar? I know you were big on them possibly signing him in the offseason. Where do you think he's going to kind of fit in with this Cubs lineup?
Yeah, so because we signed Simmons first, I thought that was going to be it. And I was kind of disappointed. Like, of course, we've talked about the glove with Simmons. The bat, we'll see. I think it's going to be a wet noodle. Don't expect much out of it. but VR has the offensive history, and he's only 29 years old. I feel like, is that right? Does anybody know? I think he's only 29. It feels like he's been in the game forever. I feel like he's been around forever, and he's got a great profile offensively. He can hit for power. He can run. It looks like he maybe got a little bit thicker this offseason.
He's 30.
He's 30 now. I think. Okay, so I think did he just turn 30? Did you see? Can you see his birthday?
May 2nd.
So he'll actually be 30.
Oh,
he'll be 31.
Okay. So thanks for checking that. I don't know. Like I think he's going to be. I think he'd be a little bit more than a complimentary bench piece. I think if anybody, knock on wood, goes down with an injury, he's going to be a really good replacement to slightly above replacement level player on both sides of the ball, and he can play anywhere on the infield. So
and he's a switch hitter, and you look at his splits.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the same hitter right and left. Like it doesn't have really a drop off either side.
And that's you don't see that with switch hitters, right? I mean, we've obviously harped on Hap for that in the past. So I think he fits in great, and obviously I love what I've seen out of him so far.
I posed this question on Twitter today, and Ron, I'm going to have you answer it. Can Nico Hoerner develop into a Trey Turner type player with a little less pop? What are your thoughts?
I absolutely think he can. And I responded to your question today on Twitter. I think he can. I think the profile of a poor man's Trey Turner is not a bad comp for what Nico Hoerner can be. Not saying he's there necessarily now. He's still young. I think we lose sight because of how long he's been around now with the Cubs. Like, the guy doesn't even have a full major league season under his belt yet. I think he's still under that mark yet. I mean, there's so much more baseball in front of Nico Hoerner. And yeah, I think he's not going to have the same offensive numbers as Turner. I mean, we've seen Turner put up, well over 20 home runs in a season and do all the other things that he does well. But I think, anywhere between 15 to 18 dingers out of a guy like Hoerner, coupled with really solid defense, good base running, and maybe he's able to swipe a couple bags and add that element to his game. I absolutely think that's a guy that you can look around the league and say, yeah, you know what? He is kind of built in the mold of a poor man's Trey Turner. And if that's what the Cubs have at shortstop for the near term, while some of these kids develop in the minors and are hopefully ready to take over in 3 to 4 years, I think the Cubs are in great shape up the middle with a guy like Hoerner there.
I was looking at Baseball Savant, Trey Turner and Nico Hoerner, just kind of trying to compare them. And Trey Turner's exit velo at the end of his first season, which would be about where we're at with Nico Hoerner in games played, they're like identical exit velo, like average. And so I'm excited to see kind of what steps Nico takes in the next couple of years. Does that power come? Or is this where we're going to kind of add, and he's going to be kind of a guy that hits in the gaps, drives the ball up the middle. And Jake, you put out a video after the loss on Saturday.
Yeah.
One to kind of just like, and you had a statement in there of like, you want to see Nico get a little bit more loft in. He's hitting on the ground a little too much. And what do you see on Sunday? He put 2 balls in the air, drove it in the gap, got some doubles. Like, that's what we need to see consistent out of Nico, because he does beat the ball on the ground a lot. But yeah, he has the speed, he has the defense. Will we get the bat along with it? I think that he could turn into a Trey Turner type player.
Yeah.
Let's get into talking about a little bit about our starters. We had some great starts this weekend. On Sunday, I have to bring this up because Drew Smyly just shoved, and you love to see it. And even more so, like you talk about Coors Field, Jake, in offensive production, and here Drew Smyly kind of just silenced that offensive production, pitching 4 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 4 Ks, and 74 pitches. Just pitched lights out, and that's the second game that he's done that. Jeff, what is your kind of expectations with Drew Smyly? Do you expect to continue this on? We do have Wade Miley coming back. We do have Mills coming back here soon. Do you expect Smyly to kind of stay in the rotation, and do you expect him to keep up this production?
I'd probably stay with a hot hand. So if he continues like he did his first couple starts, I'd just keep trotting him out there every 5th day. I'm kind of a little bit blown away by how well he's pitched the first couple games. I really didn't expect a lot out of him. Like when you're looking at his pitching stats, it's like kind of an aging veteran, a lot of miles on him. But yeah, to go out there and pitch the way he pitched yesterday in that big field at Coors, like I'm pretty impressed so far, and I really hope that he kind of gets to stay in the lineup when these other guys are getting healthy and coming back in. Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. When we signed him, what season was that we had him? 2019.
I believe it was 2019. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that it was a good pickup. He never pitched for us at the major league level, correct?
Nope.
But then he went on and he did well with Atlanta last year. I mean, 4.48 ERA is not great, but like it's serviceable. 8.3
started 29 games too.
Yeah. I mean, and like you like that health after some injury history. I think he's going to be. It's tough because like you look at the roster moves that took place on Saturday to make room for Mark Leiter Jr. And one of them was DFAing Corey Abbott to get him off the 40-man roster and create a spot for Mark Leiter. And I saw a great comment, I think, on an Athletic article, and it was like, what's going on here that we don't have guys to give chances in the big leagues? Like, why did we have to? Why Mark Leiter Jr.? And I thought that was a great question. I think Abbott's not. I don't think he has 2 starts, and I don't think he's done great in Iowa this year. But it's also one of those things where it's like sometimes you call guys up and something clicks in the big leagues. It's a coach that they're interacting with, whatever it might be. The reason I say this is because as great as Drew Smyly has looked, I don't think he's going to look good enough to be trade bait at the deadline. Like, I don't expect him to keep up a pace that's that high. Like at the deadline, guys are like competitive teams are probably looking for a 3 at the worst, like a guy that they could probably slot into their playoff rotation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Like it's great to see him succeed right now because I want the Cubs to win. But at the same time, like this is probably the season to let young guys in the system who haven't gotten the chance develop. And I would have liked to see Abbott get some run. Like just, screw it. Let him go out there and see what happens. So it's tough. I'm torn. I don't know. Ron, Jeff, what do you guys think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I really like Smyly. I thought it was, like you said, Jake, a good addition at the time when they first signed him. And it was kind of cool seeing him come back. A solid season. Again, nothing outer worldly, but again, I mean, he did win a World Series with the Braves. So, that says something, and he pitched meaningful games for them. I mean, he's looked really nice, though. I mean, 8 2/3 innings, only 1 walk in 8 2/3 innings. And sure, the Ks aren't blowing you away. Only 5 strikeouts so far. Only had 1 in that Pittsburgh game. But again, he's inducing weak contact. And I think what was most impressive was shutting down Colorado in Colorado. I mean, we saw the Cubs get hit all weekend. Stroh got hit by, the 4th inning. Steele didn't get hit too terribly, but, seeing him not get hit at all really until he got pulled finally, that's encouraging. But I agree with you at the same time, right, Jake? Because like this is that season that you're kind of like, well, this is the time to give some of these guys another shot. Corey Abbott really hasn't gotten a fair shake at the major league level. I know Greg Deichmann was another one that was DFA'd as a part of those roster moves. And, that might be more of a guy that they're like, hey, we have such a crowded outfield anyway, as it is. Like, we can kind of afford to get rid of him, and DFA him and potentially ultimately lose him. But like you said, I think a guy like Abbott deserves at least a fair shake. I mean, maybe he's not going to, burn the world down and do crazy things for you. And if at that point, then you've seen enough, But it did feel kind of weird. And maybe they did just like Leiter Jr. that much, and they kind of saw something in him. I'm kind of hoping, and this is something I've preached on Cubs on Tap, is I hope the Dan Kantrovitz like effect starts to happen to the Cubs. I want to be the St. Louis Cardinals where we pull up some some no-namer that nobody's ever heard of and he pitches well. And people get annoyed because that was us as Cubs fans for my entire life when we played the Cardinals.
Yeah.
It was some no-name dude I've never heard of in my life comes up, starts a game against the Cubs in a spot start, and like goes 6 innings, strikes out 7, and lets up 1 run. And I'm like, who the hell is this kid? Like the Cubs might be that finally, and it's kind of exciting. So it felt like Leiter Jr. was kind of that because he looked really good through the start of the game, and then it just the wheels came off that second time through the order. So I agree with you, Jake. I think it's again just give everybody and anybody a shake at this point this season. You might as well try out what you have. You're kind of already doing it at the big league level anyway.
Yeah.
But again, it is kind of like I'm kind of on both sides of the fence. I kind of agree with Jake on the whole situation as well.
In spring training, Leiter pitched pretty well. He pitched pretty. I mean, he was lights out there for a while. He has a good pedigree. Both his dad and Al Leiter, his uncle pitched. His cousin just got drafted number 2. Was it 2 overall to Texas? I don't know. Like, give him some shots. And I think the thing with Corey Abbott, like, he didn't finish the season well in Iowa last year, kind of struggled. He just didn't find that consistency. And I think for the Cubs, it was like to the point of like, we know what we have in Abbott. Let's see what we have in Leiter. They're kind of about the same pitcher, probably ceiling level. Let's see what we have and throw them out there. And he has an option, which I don't know how many Abbott had left. Obviously not a lot or not any. So, I mean, I'm okay with that. The thing with Drew Smyly, I'm a little bit more high on. I think that there's an opportunity there where he might have found it later in his career. He's had some injury problems, and it's an opportunity where we can kind of see what we got in him. And maybe we do. Maybe he's kind of like the, what's his name? Scott Feldman or Friedman back in the day where we flipped him and at the deadline. And I mean, it turned out that we got Jake Arrieta out of the whole thing. And like, there's some things that we could do there with making a trade, or we keep him. I mean, he, in his last 11 starts, last 11 regular season appearances, he is 10-1 with a 3.35 ERA. His quality of pitch average is top 17 in all of baseball. His location is top 5 in all of baseball. His vertical break is top 11 in all of baseball. Like, he has quality stuff. I think he just needs kind of the break, and he needs to kind of put it all together. He's from the left side. Like, that's something that we've wanted in our rotation. And now we got some with Steele and him from the left side. Like, and you have DJ Hurst coming up later. Like, I mean, it's an opportunity now. Like, with this team, we don't know who we have. We're going to find out this year. Let's find out with Smyly. He might be a guy that sticks around for the next couple of years and shoves. And we have a left-handed dominant starting pitcher. I don't know. So I'm excited to kind of see where it goes. I think when it comes back, I think Mills is going to fill into the bullpen, and Wade Miley's going to be in there and kind of be that 4-5 or 3-4 guy. So I don't know how. I just don't see Mills with the way, especially like you have Keegan Thompson shoving, but I think he's kind of filled into that 2-3 inning role. And he actually just came out, I think said it in an interview yesterday where he actually has kind of like adopted that role as his. He likes it, where I think last year he didn't like that role. And now he's like, no, I'm being successful here and I'm helping the team. This is my groove. This is where I'm finding success. I'm going to stick here. And dude, I love him in that spot. I love him kind of like piggybacking off of Steele or piggybacking off of Smyly or whoever we have throwing tonight, like getting those 2-3 innings. You see him tonight. Was he into
Just
3? So I mean, he's at 3-4 innings.
He's thrown 3 2/3, 1 hit, 1 walk, 5 Ks.
Like, dude, like that. He has been like, he's going to be a key piece in our pitching staff this year. And he's not going to get the notoriety that others, because he's not going to be a starter, but he's going to be like kind of the cornerstone of our pitching staff. He's going to be eating a lot of innings and pitching some big innings when we need it, when we're only up 1 run and needing him to keep shutting the inning down and getting our offense back in there. Like, I've loved what I've seen out of Thompson so far.
And I think too, I think I'd rather see him if he's accepted the role and if he's excelling in the role this year. I would rather see him stay in that role this year and then bring him into the rotation next season if we want to give that a shot. Because outside of Smyly, Mills, Smyly, we've got Stephen Brault, who's on the 7-day IL at AAA. I don't know if he'll be anything like. If anything, maybe he becomes another lefty in the bullpen for us at some point this season. But at the same time, like if that many guys go down, I'd rather see him come in the rotation and keep Keegan where he's playing well. Jeff, I think I cut you off. Were you going to say something?
Well, I think he's probably the brightest spot in the bullpen. Just that he's a notch probably ahead of like Efros, but it's like our pitching staff is like flipped. Like the starters are pitching really, really well, and like our bullpen's a little suspect.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd at least like to have an anchor in there.
Yeah.
And even if he is the 2-3 guy, that's the anchor, that's fine. So.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think last week, it's going to take a month for Ross to figure out who he has down there in the bullpen, especially with that shortened spring training. Yeah. He's still trying to figure out where to put these guys, what inning to put them in. Ethan Roberts had a good first outing. Last one in Colorado struggled. I'd like to get him back out there. But Efros has pitched really, really well out there. So yeah. And David Robertson, man, I mean, that's been a huge signing that is going to kind of go silent and nobody's going to talk about, but he's a lockdown closer. He's been coming in. He throws strikes, gets guys out. Like that's what we need at the back end of our bullpen.
I want to quickly touch on Efros because I feel like he's been an unsung hero so far this season. Mm-hmm. And I think I also want to talk about how impressive it is that in the middle of his career, he just decided. So I saw the breakdown. I can't remember which coach just decided we're going to teach you how to throw sidearm. And now here he is. Yep. And he looks fantastic. Like this dude switched to throwing sidearm probably at like, I think, I don't know, like 25, 26 years old, and then breaks into the big leagues after throwing his entire life over the top or, maybe 3/4, whatever his slot was before.
Do you know what year he did that? Was that 19 to 20? Like in between, he started his first year of doing it. Yeah. Last season was his first full season of actually throwing sidearm. Like,
yeah. So I guess it was between 20 and 21. And I just think that is like that kind of reinvention and the work ethic that he had to put in to do that and stay competitive at the major league level is like insane. So like Scott Efros, you're probably not listening to this, but if you are, hats off to you, man. Like I hope you are in the Cubs bullpen for a long time and see a lot of success because that story in and of itself should not be overlooked by Cubs fans this season.
Yeah. Absolutely. And he kind of stepped up too out of nowhere late in the season last year when they were kind of looking for some of these guys to establish roles down the stretch, right? Like it's the same method how, people came to love Patrick Wisdom and Frank Schwindel. It's like these guys all carved roles for themselves when, the team was just completely gutted at the trade deadline. Yeah. But you lost pretty much all of your significant back end bullpen pieces too. Tepera, gone. Kimbrel, gone. Chafin, gone. They needed a guy that was going to step up and really take kind of the bull by the horns. And, Rowan Wick did to an extent when he was healthy. We saw some other guys kind of show flashes and things like that, but Scotty Efros was a big part of that you started to see more and more of him. It was like every other game. It was like, oh, hey, Efros is back out there. Oh, hey, Efros is out there. Oh, hey, Efros is out there in a high leverage situation. Oh, hey, there's Efros. Oh, hey, there's Jeff's, Dinger's pick going yard. Frankie Schwindel.
nice, Rob.
You are like a good.
Am I that far ahead?
Two plays ahead of me.
Okay, I'm really sorry.
No, it's awesome.
Did not mean to ruin that, but but no, like again, just these guys stepping up and finding a role for themselves. And Scott Efros, to me, is the guy that's the favorite right now to be kind of that first guy in the 7th inning to get you to that setup and then ultimately that closer, which right now you could argue setup is probably Givens and closer is probably Robertson on a good day.
Yep. I don't mean to take us off track here, but I do want to say, because that was awesome calling that, Ron, just mid sentence. We didn't let you introduce yourself. I mean, I think a lot of our listeners probably overlap. If you don't know Ron Luce, you need to be listening and following Ron Luce. He does such an excellent job on Cubs on Tap. But Ron, you do a lot of stuff outside of Cubs baseball. Can you so we did a live video chat for the fantasy draft this year. And when Ron was breaking down all the stuff that he does, my mind was blown. So Ron, can you go into a little bit of all the sports stuff that you do outside of Cubs on Tap?
Yeah, so I obviously am a part of On Tap Sportsnet. So I do more than just Cubs on Tap. Cubs on Tap is kind of my baby. It was when On Tap Sportsnet started, they were like, hey, Cubs is your thing to run, because it was me and Tony, Johnny, and Buzz. And if anybody knows Tony, Johnny, and Buzz, they're all White Sox fans. So they were like, hey, we need somebody to run Cubs. So Juice and I kind of took it by the horns to start. And here we are, how many years later, and we've had Cody come through and a bunch of other super talented guys. But I also do Blackhawks. I do some Bears stuff. I'll fill in and write a Bulls article every once in a while. I do editing on that side of the house. Then I work my normal day job. I'm an accountant. Not very exciting, but that's what I do as a day job. And then I call sporting events at my old university. So I do play-by-play and color commentary over at St. Xavier University. I do color commentary for football, and I do play-by-play for just about every other sport that's on campus. So, I'm very busy. I don't stop moving. I'm just always going, and I would be bored if I didn't do everything all the time. So that's
what sport have you done play-by-play where you're like, I'm not this isn't my jam, but I'm going to do my best?
Is it field hockey?
I think, no field hockey, but I think the first one for me initially was soccer, just because I wasn't super familiar with the rules and the terminologies. But I've gained a very good, strong appreciation for the sport by calling it. And it's hard. It's a hard sport to call, especially when you don't know all the terminology and you don't have a color commentary person to kind of fill in. It is very difficult sometimes to articulate what's going on and things like that. But I will say there's been a couple of sports though that I never called that I actually get a lot of enjoyment in calling. Volleyball is actually electric to call at the college level. I never realized it. Then you look at the actual roster of how large these guys are. I have Fubo and I'm a good 30 seconds behind you. Scott, I have Xfinity. I'm one of the super stereotypical Xfinity users in the Chicagoland market. That's what we have. But
I'm a good 4 minutes behind everybody. So
did you see the tank yet for sure?
Yeah, it just happened.
Okay.
Amazing.
But yeah, no. So yeah, long story short, I stay pretty busy. I stay pretty busy with the world of sports, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, we're a Cubs podcast and we want people to listen to us, but we love other Cubs podcasts and we're a big supporter of getting people to people need community. People Absolutely. Need to listen to others and feel like they're part of a group in being part of this podcasting community with other Cubs. It's been great at starting this podcast and getting to know other podcasters, and the guys on Tap are awesome. Cubs on Tap, those guys, they do a great work over there. So if you're listening, go listen to them as well. There's CHGO, they do a great job there with Cody that used to do On Tap. Now he's over working with them. There's a lot of great Cubs content out there. But what even more about that is just the community that we've kind of created. I mean, a lot of us are in a fantasy baseball league together, and it's a blast. A lot of us for the very first time, or getting back into it after 10 years. And so that's just fun. We always want to uplift other podcasts. So if you are listening, make sure you also are listening to Cubs on Tap. We want to do a lot of stuff with them and have them on our podcast throughout this year. And so if you ever want to come back, we would love to have you back on.
Hey, I'd love to be back on. And likewise, we'll have to get you guys on too in rotation to come join Juice and Joey and Joe and I. See, it's me and the 3 J's. So I need I mean, if Jeff and
So I'm
Jake are
out.
on, we'll have 5 J's. We'll have 5 J's, but Mitch, we'll definitely have to get you on. I need somebody else that isn't a J name on the
Yeah,
podcast with me.
definitely.
But yeah,
And Ron,
you guys will absolutely. We'll be reaching out for you guys to come on as well. Like you said, Mitch, you put it perfectly, right? Like the community aspect of it is really cool, and it's very unique, I think, to kind of the Cubs landscape in terms of fandom, because sure, like you always think, right, like from a business standpoint, oh, everybody's competitors. No, not always. Like it's okay to be strategic partners and have good alliances with people. And I mean, I would say honestly, out of all the Cubs podcasts, I think in terms of Cubs on Tap, like you guys here at Dingers have been our biggest kind of, I guess, I don't want to use the word ally because that sounds weird, but like I'll say buddies.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of just the good Midwestern term, right? Like
Yeah.
the biggest buddies of Cubs Twitter for Cubs on Tap. So no, but it has been a blast. It has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun to reciprocate on Twitter, and of course we've beat the fantasy league to death. But that was kind of my thing, was like I wanted to. The big thing was that the group chat the last few seasons for this league was pretty dead, and I figured if we got a bunch of Cubs guys in it, we'd have a lot of stuff to talk about, and it hasn't disappointed thus far. So it's been great, and I'm excited for the season ahead for both of our podcasts. And that said, Ron, too, what last year the cadence was you guys went live after every game. Are you planning on continuing that this season?
We're trying to change it up a little bit this year, so we're gonna at least at minimum do every series. At least one show every series. For the Colorado series, we ended up doing 2 shows, so we just kind of broke it in half.
Yep.
Joey and I ran Friday night, and then we ran yesterday as well. It's just kind of going to be play it by ear, I think, is what we're trying to do, because admittedly, when it's only 3 or 4 of you and it's 162 games, it's really hard to go live after every single game. So we're trying. We want to do more with like Twitter Spaces as well. I think that's a world that like I'm still learning, and we as a kind of a whole are still learning. So Twitter Spaces here and there, and just like more video content and things like that too. So I think that's really kind of where we're going with Cubs on Tap. But at minimum, at least one show per series is our goal over the course of the season. So we're trying.
It's all we can do. It's all any of us can do, man.
Absolutely.
Let's keep up with it a long season. It's a marathon.
It is. It's the only sport that's like that too, right? Because even if you say like, hey, basketball, like I give Bulls on Tap, Buzz and Goose over there so much credit because they go live after every Bulls game. But sometimes you luck out and there's only maybe 2 or 3 Bulls games in a week where it's like, there's 7 baseball games usually in a week if there's no off day. So it's a little different.
Well, that's what you guys last year doing, like every game. I was like, I don't know how they're doing it.
No, I was like,
a lot of caffeine. It was a lot of caffeine usually Sunday through Wednesday, and then it was other things Thursday through Saturday. So you got to have something that's get you energized to go live after a game, especially those late like Colorado games when it was like a 9-10 start.
West Coast games,
miserable. Yeah, those Dodger games were tough. Those were tough, but we made it work.
Well, let's look ahead a little bit. The Cubs are going to finish. They have 2 more games here with the Rays. Game 2 tomorrow, Justin Steele versus TBA. I hear he sucks.
He's the worst.
The worst. We're going to light him up. And then game 3, Marcus Stroman versus Drew Rasmussen. So, I mean, and then we go and have 4 games set with Pittsburgh before we have an off day on Monday and travel to Atlanta. What are some of the big things that you're looking forward to, Ron, going into these next 2 series?
I think just continue to do what they've done, and it's just get ahead early. I think that's something that's so unique to this Cubs team that I didn't expect to happen, is them to be able to score runs so quickly early in the game, right? That first time through the order, because I mean, we all saw it. We all remember the Cubs teams of years past. Sometimes it took till the 4th, 5th, 6th inning until the offense started to open up. And it was that, second or third time through the order usually. Mm-hmm. This Cubs team is getting on people early. They're getting base runners on early, and they're scoring runs early. I mean, how many first inning games have they scored a run already this season? It's like almost all but like maybe 2. Yeah. It's some absurd statistic like that. So I think just that continuing to get ahead on teams in the first 3 innings is so important, just from a psyche standpoint too, right? Because then you can line up the bullpen the way you want it to over the course of a game. If your starter's dealing, you're more likely to leave him in a little longer. You know, there's more favorable strategy, I guess, for lack of a better term, to that when you're getting that early lead. So I that's my big key, I think, for the Cubs, just really over these next like 2 weeks. Like you said, they got the Braves on the road after they got Pittsburgh here at home, and they finished with Tampa. Just get on these teams early. You never know what's going to happen when you score the first run. You know, Eddie Olczyk and the Blackhawks guys, they always talk about, you know, you score that first goal, it looks really good for you to win the game. Same thing in baseball. You get that first run, it just only helps your chances of winning every single night.
What about you, Jeffrey? What are you looking forward to? What do you want to see these next 2 series?
Just a bullpen getting that's just a little bit better. You know, a few more innings, a few more pitches, things like that. I think some of the question marks for me have kind of been answered, you know, at the beginning of the season with, will this, you know, contact lineup hit? Can we produce runs? That the starting pitching has been a little bit better than I thought it was going to be in the early going. So I'm just looking forward, you know, to just keep building on what they have been doing, and the bullpen, you know, getting better.
Yep. Jake, what about you? What's the big thing you're looking for this week?
So I'll start by saying it looks like TBA's full name may be Josh Fleming, 25-year-old lefty. This
Yeah, he's
according
way
to
better than
Fantasy
TBA.
Pros. Yeah, he's a little bit better. Decent minor league record. Looks like he's a contact pitcher, not a big strikeout guy. So left-handed pitching, you know, let's jump on a lefty and not have as many strikeouts as we had tonight. Going forward, take advantage of being at home. Let's win both these series. I mean, I think it could be a big statement to win the series against the Rays. We're 1 out from finishing up the first game here with David Robertson on the mound. Yeah, I agree with Jeff. I think the bullpen, I think we're going to start to see roles fleshed out a little bit more. I think for me, the biggest thing, I mean, I'll continue to go with Nico. I just want to see Nico continue to develop. I don't know, man. So far, a week into the season, a little over a week into the season, things have been good. I mean, can Seiya keep it up? Can Seiya keep this pace up? I just want to see the offense stay consistent with the table that they've set this far. Pitchers are going to adjust, like we've talked about. They're going to find holes in guys' swings and their approaches. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot. It's early in the season, right? We could talk about anything. Nothing is. The sample size is still so small that nothing is set yet. So,
yep.
I'm just excited to watch baseball, guys, for a full week. I mean,
yep.
let's get it.
Yeah.
What about you, Mitch? What's got your eye?
I mean, for me, like this week, if they walk away 4-3, great. Like I know, like going when we're in Colorado, like let's just get the split. I'm happy with that. Get a split on the road. We're good. We need to walk away from here with a winning record. I think that going forward with this young team trying to find themselves, I think would just that confidence. I want that confidence ball to keep rolling down the hill and getting bigger. And so it kind of goes with that. I want to see this contact and production from our offense to keep rolling. I want to see the guys that should be getting on base, getting singles to be doing that, and the guys who be driving them in to be doing their role. And that's what we've kind of been. Even goes back to our podcast a couple of weeks ago when I had Justin Stone on, the hitting director of the Chicago Cubs. He talked a lot about, he's like, our whole goal this year with our offense is to get guys in roles that they know what they're really good at and that they do that really, really well. And you see them so far this year. That's what they're doing. They're getting them to do the things that they do really, really well. And everything else is just noise and let it be. Like Nick Madrigal, you don't need to go out there and try to hit dings. Like just go out there and get on base, hit it up the middle. First inning, hit it up the middle, get on base, let the other guys work around and score some runs. And so that's why I just want to see that the guys just stay within themselves and keep doing what they've been doing. And we're going to get wins. Like it's great. Like I'm loving this team. Like it's so fun to watch.
Win
like,
tonight. Just got to win just now.
Yep. Just win the night. So yeah, I'm looking
Ron
forward.
Saw it 4 minutes ago.
No, I just saw it. I just saw it about 30 seconds.
I think Ron and I are pretty even.
Yeah. Yeah. So just keep winning, having fun. But yeah, just baseball every night. It's good to have it back, man. It's still, even after like we're on week 2, and it still feels good just have that baseball on every night where I know that there's gonna be a game to expect. So yeah, thanks for.
Can I ask? Because we got a couple more minutes here. I just want to ask each of you. I kind of said it in Nico, but I want to ask each of you, who is a specific player that you are keeping an eye on over the next week? Because we talked about our crack
Our beer.
Crack beer player of the previous week. Who are we going to be watching the closest this next week?
I think a really easy one is Patrick Wisdom. I think it's to see if he can continue kind of taking that I call it, he needed Coors, if nothing else, for the mental side of it, and just getting that he needed to get his swagger back, and he got a little bit of it back in Coors. I mean, he had the bomb tonight. That's certainly encouraging. I want to see him just continually put together good at-bats. I think as long as he's putting together good at-bats, seeing the ball well, and he's at least getting maybe 1 hit per game or 1 hit every other game, that's at least encouraging, I think, for where he's going. Because that start was rough, and you just hope he can put it in the review.
I do want to say a shout out to Scott. He just said fly the W because the Cubs just picked up a W. But Scott was at the Iowa Cubs game when we were podcasting last week from the Iowa Cubs game. I actually got to meet him in person. So Scott from Iowa on Twitter. Thanks for listening tonight.
I'm envious. I've been meaning to make a trip out to Iowa to meet the old.
Yeah, you need to come over, come to an iCubs game.
I will have to. I'll drag Jake with me.
There you go. Jeff, who's your guy this week?
I'm gonna keep an eye on Ian Happ. See
Ooh.
if he continues to stay hot.
Big RBI tonight.
Did.
Yeah.
Huge. Broke the 2-2 tie, so it's good.
Jake, what about you?
I want to see Clint Frazier get more at bats.
Yeah, I do too. Yep.
He's
the Red Rocket.
Yeah. He had
a lot of that going on around here.
Well, that's what I was like. The Cubs have a ton of redhead guys in their organization, and then we got
I made a joke
Rod and
about
Jeff.
Yeah.
Like we got
Kevin, Ginger.
I just want to see him get more consistent playing time, and it's tough. I mean, we already talked about the DFA of Dykman. We got a crowded outfield, but like I said, Fleming's a lefty. Wouldn't be surprised to see Frazier get the nod tomorrow. I don't think they'll slide Happ to center. I think it'd be more likely that Frazier's DHing.
Yep.
So yeah, I want to see Clint Frazier get some tries. How about you, Mitch?
Mine is just gonna be the middle infield. How Ross balances that out in getting VR some at bats, but also I've kind of been, since they even got Madrigal last year, excited to see what he provides for this Cubs offense. So I've been kind of watching him this whole season of just what type of hitter is he going to be? Are we going to see more gap to gap hard hit balls, or what are we going to see out of Nick Madrigal? All the naysayers on his defense. I've had nothing to complain about his defense at second base. So, I've liked what I've seen out of Nick Madrigal. I think he's going to do really, really well. So I've just been, I'll watch him this week and see if we see some more doubles out of him and some more just his on-base production. So, yeah. Well, that does it for this episode of the Dingers podcast. Again, follow us on Twitter at Dinger Cubs. Join the conversation, interact with us on there. And that does it for episode 76 of the Dingers podcast.